setting everything up. All right. Okay. We have all of this going, and I'm excited. All right. Make sure I can see everything. All right. We are live on Twitch and YouTube. I need to turn off the sound on my phone because, yeah. Hello, welcome, Sean. We are going to be reading Prelude of Fire for just a little bit, and then we're going to be playing Palia on Twitch. This is the voted for villain monologue chapter, which I think everyone's going to really enjoy. And one thing about this is, how do I explain it? So the recording, you'll be able to see at least some of with the stream on YouTube and Twitch. On TikTok, you'll be able to hear all of it, and you'll be able to interact with me as well. Hi, Strive Tech. Everyone say hi to Strive Tech in the chat. Strive Tech is, in fact, my hubby, and I'm very excited that he's decided to help out with this. He has helped me set up in the past. I'm very grateful for it because, come on, we all need someone in our corner helping us out. All right, so for those that haven't seen me stream before, at least for narrations, I have an implant for my epilepsy, so I will be holding this up so it doesn't have this little weird raspiness as I'm recording. So you will see that. Don't worry about it. All right, I'm going to start my recording here. I'll have to edit out some of the extra talking, but that's okay. All right. So, Chapter 16, Son of Beasts. One of the things about this book, if you haven't read it already, Prelude of Fire is amazing. I really, really love it. I was obsessed with the book before I got the contract to narrate it, which doesn't always happen. Actually, usually doesn't. And so I have read the entire thing, became obsessed. I need the rest of the series immediately. And yeah. All right. Oh, I should have the sound so I can see it all. Because I want to see it all. Show me, show me. Show me, show me. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There we go. Tiny Mouse, thank you for tuning in. Oh, Daily Squeak. So for those that don't know, on Twitch, I am an otter girl. And otters make these really cute little sounds. And it's really cute. It's like they're trying to talk in almost baby talk, but they're, I don't know, it's really cute. So thanks for the Daily Squeak. I'm happy to see you. It's been a minute. And honestly, that's all my fault. And that's okay. All right. I think we're ready to start. Okay. Pull this up. And we will read. And just make sure that I have it in a way that I can see everything. Oh, that might have changed. I did. Darn it. That did change things. Well, we'll fix that again. And that should be all better. All right, guys, we're ready to read. Let's get going. I'll still try to interact with all the chats. And let's read Prelude of Fire. Chapter 16, Son of Beasts. The prisoner stretched his weary limbs, only to groan and recoil back into the same stiff position he'd held for hours. He had dozed off and on, having little else to do inside the icy cell. Sleep was his only reprieve from the torment of the past few days, weeks. Was it possible months had passed already? Time was just impossible. First blooper. Someone said hi. Thank you. Say hello to everyone. Hello, hello. Hey! Loving Onion. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Yes, here is the villain monologue. Clipping that. Okay. I can't really control that, so I guess that's being clipped. Cool. Great. Awesome. Thanks, Loving Onion. All right. Let's start this recording again. I did it again, you guys. There we go. Get that recording again. We're all good. So happy that one won. I'm glad. I'm loving it. All right. Back to recording. Was it possible months had passed already? Time was impossible to decipher here, either flashing past like a bolt of lightning or dripping as slowly as molasses. The notion of anything as indulgent as molasses made his stomach churn with both hunger and sickness. His captor fed him meager rations, enough for him to survive while barely able to sit propped up against the cold stone wall. Even crawling to the opposite corner of the cell to relieve himself was... Gonna try that line again. Even crawling to the opposite corner of the cell to relieve himself with a... Even crawling to the opposite corner of the cell to relieve himself was a trial that left him panting. He was slowly starving to death. The pain stabbing his stomach like the High King's fire told him this. I can't scroll that fast. There we go. Thanks for joining, John. He had considered eating nothing and thus dying faster, both to ease his pain and prevent him from uttering any word that might endanger his family. What was the point of living any longer? He couldn't escape to help them if they were still alive. Every time King Ragnar returned to question him, torturing him with some new fire spell, he feared the desire for reprieve would cause him to blurt anything to satisfy the king's thirst for information. Hey, thank you for following Vash7VA. Happy to have you on board. For those that have just joined, it looks like we have a few more people that have just joined. We're reading Prelude of Fire. In a minute and a half on Twitch, we'll have an ad break, and I'll pause for that. All right, back we go. The sound of iron scraping against stone alerted him. He was too exhausted to waste energy on getting excited, till he saw the servant bringing the tray with his daily ration of food. With an eagerness he despised, the prisoner pried himself from the wall, pushing forward. Much as he wanted to abhor and deny the food, his body refused. He almost wondered if the food was cursed to tempt him, but he knew the bitter truth. Merritt Jardiss was the only cursed thing in this hell of a prison. The young squire, dressed in King Ragnar's colors of red, gold, and purple, crouched before the cell's barred door and set the tray down. Merritt let out a slight groan at the thin soup and crusty old bread, a veritable feast to him. I need a drink. Ad break ends in a second. Hi, Harold. Welcome, welcome. All right, ad break ends in 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back from the ad break. All right, continuing. A vicious grin spread across the servant's face. What? You want something? Ah, you want this food here? Well, today I thought we'd play a little game. His Majesty likes to play games too, doesn't he? Play 'em with you, played 'em with me. Last time I was late delivering your supper. He pulled up his sleeve, revealing a patchwork of half-healed bruises. Oh, half-healed burns, my bad. Don't see why he cares when you eat, as he obviously wants you dead. But I thought I'd teach you a lesson all the same. His smile faded to contempt. Maybe I ain't highborn, but at least I'm no bastard traitor like you, and I won't be punished for your sake. For those wondering, and that know that I don't curse, the king sees him as an actual bastard. And because of that, I am okay with saying that word. There we go. Merritt glared back. I'm no bastard, nor a King says you are, misbegotten of traitorous scum. And in the end, that's all that matters, isn't it? What the king says. Now come on, then. You want supper? Beg me for it. If Merritt had the strength, he'd have lunged, grabbed the boy by his scrawny neck, and knocked him against the bars. But his bones ached. His skin ached. Faint scars of burns recently delivered and healed by Ragnar mapped his body head to toe. He was helpless to do anything but crawl forward and reach through the bars for the meal. Merritt's hand trembled, just as if... Bloopers abound here, you guys. Also, I can't feel my toes. I should not be crisscrossed in my seat. Ow, toes. Okay. Just realizing that. Yeah, okay. That was real smooth of me. Also, in this book, Merritt is the brother of the main female character, or, sorry, I should say female main character, FMC. He is not the male main character, but he is very, very pivotal to this story. All right. Merritt's hand trembled. Just as his fingers grasped the tray, the servant jerked it back. Merritt fell forward, smacking his face against the bars. His scabbed lip opened and bled, and the servant laughed. Ha! Bloody as well now. The bloody bastard beggar is what we should start calling you. Someone grabbed the boy, yanked him to his feet, and smacked him hard across the face. Merritt hardly had to look up to know who it was. King Ragnar, eyes aglow with fury. The servant's arrogance vanished, replaced by a cowering fear as the king growled, "You will leave my service at once for your insolence. In fact, I should kill you for dishonoring your king's order so brazenly." Pausing for a second to let you guys know, in case you're going to listen to the audiobook when it's out, and I really hope that you do, we have not decided on the voice of King Ragnar 100% yet. The reason is because of how spoiled, pompous, callous, and just pure evil he is. Getting his voice 100% right is incredibly important. So, his voice is kind of in flux. Oh, there we go. And so I'm not going quite as low as I did in some of the more recent samples that I sent the author, since it's not pinned down. I'm kind of testing this higher voice out. And so, yeah. We'll see how this goes, see what the author thinks of it. And, of course, since we haven't gotten the voice down 100%, this may not be the final recording. So you'll have to see in the final audiobook if this is what he actually is going to sound like. All right, back to recording. "Forgive me," the boy cried. "He is your enemy and mine as well. I only meant—" "He is my enemy, yes." Ragnar grabbed the boy by the collar, lifting and shoving him against the wall. A twinge of morbid glee flitted through Merritt at the sight, a feeling he immediately regretted and loathed. "Mine to toy with or maim, heal or help, just as you are, in fact. But you're lucky." He lowered the boy without releasing his grasp and turned a smirking gaze to Merritt. Oh, more people joining. Hey, welcome, welcome. He lowered the boy without releasing his grasp and turning a smirking gaze to Merritt. I am in an amiable humor today, thanks to a recent victory against my own traitorous but true blood. Let's do that line again. I am in an amiable mood today, thanks to a recent victory against my own traitorous but true blood. Merritt grabbed the bars. My sister? She is well. It is not yet her time. He returned his hard stare to the servant boy. But it is yours. You have till the count of 20. If you can escape the castle by then, you are free to go, but will never return to my service. If you fail... He raised his free hand, and a large ball of flame formed within, crackling and blazing high. Your own weakness will prove your right to die. Do you accept my bargain? Your offer is generous, Majesty, the boy said, visibly trembling. But we are so far deep inside the castle, how will I be able to... Dare you show ingratitude toward your king? Will you end your service to me in ashes? He moved the ball of flame to hover close to the lad's cheek. I want to do that again without him almost yelling, because he doesn't always have to yell to be terrifying and intimidating, so let's do this in an almost whisper growl. Yeah, let's try that. Dare you show ingratitude toward your king? Will you end your service to me in ashes? Oh, he's a special kind of awful. I couldn't even get out of bed in 20 seconds. Loving Onion, I totally understand that. Yeah, he is a special kind of awful. He is like the spoiled teenager in a man's body kind of evil, that believes himself to be a god among men with his magic. It's, yeah. You'll have to listen to the book to see more about him, but yeah. He moved the ball of flame to hover close to the lad's cheek. The boy recoiled. No, your majesty, I thank you. 'Tis a fair and generous offer. Ragnar stared at him in the eye for a long, unblinking moment. Then the hand clutching the boy's collar opened. 1. The boy bolted, staggering down the hallway. Merritt's heart galloped after him, pounding as quickly as the lad's clumsy footsteps. Cruel as he'd been, he didn't deserve to be murdered for such a small insult, especially against his master's prisoner. How many other countless innocents had Ragnar slaughtered? How many had his sister seen die? How close had she come to being consumed by that same wicked fire? Merritt's anguished thoughts were accompanied by Ragnar's relentlessly intoning count. 10, 11... Only now did the boy's faltering footsteps dim and then silence. The flames in Ragnar's hand grew, billowing tall, their rich red and golden hues dancing above a bed of blue. Merritt shivered. Blue was the hottest fire. Enough to kill instantly, or, with great control, to torment its victim before letting him fall. 14, 15... Please! Merritt blurted instinctively. Ooh, I peeked. Let's fix that. Please! Merritt blurted instinctively. Yeah, because we gotta remember he's dying of hunger. Don't kill him! Ragnar paused in his count, eyes wide with astonishment. His mouth lifted in a slight sign of amusement. You would spare the ungrateful wretch who's tormented you for days? I know this is not the first he's come to ridicule you. Yes, Merritt rasped, certain he'd lost the last of his senses in trying to beg the king for someone else's life, when begging for his own had proved fruitless. Please spare him. Perhaps. Would you bargain for his life? Bargain? Your meal for his life. His 20 seconds are past, but I'll give you 5 more to decide. Merritt's head swam with confusion. Did the king try to test or trick him in some way? Would he really deny Merritt the petty meal in exchange for the boy's life? He reminded himself that the meal wouldn't sustain him anyway. In fact, rejecting it could mean he welcomed the peace of death sooner rather than later, and parted his lips to agree when Ragnar said, "I thought not." With a flick of his wrist, the fire released, shooting down the hall in a formless blur. It crackled and shimmered radiantly as the sun, making Merritt squint. He tried to cry out again on the boy's behalf, but his voice cracked hoarsely. The flame disappeared from view. Merritt's heart pounded, and he began to hope his heartbeat would be the only noise to break the silence. Then the gut-wrenching screams came, distant but echoing down the stairwells and corridors all the way into the dungeon. I need to get my mouth clicks under control. He did not give Merritt enough time. Yeah, no, he gave him basically no time. Because, of course, the time it takes to read the descriptions of his thoughts is not the time he's actually giving. He gave 5 seconds. Hi, Tev. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Watermelon. For those that don't know, this is actually technically a throat-soothing sucker, like for little kids, but it's really helpful for mouth clicks for voice actors. This one is by Beekeeper's Naturals, and it's the strawberry one. Also, green apples help, but that's rather crunchy for this stream for everyone, so I won't do that to you. Okay. Hardly made it to the floor above us, Ragnar muttered. Pity. Had he known the secret passages, he could have spared himself. A good servant would know how to best spirit himself and his masters from any trouble. Soon the screams ceased. Merritt's already shallow breath staggered. His indecision had murdered the poor boy. No. He flinched, a failed attempt to shake his head. Ragnar wanted him to believe it was his fault. He wanted to use Merritt's guilt to twist blame away from himself, as he had done with other accusations, like telling him it was his fault Vian had faced such slaughter. Vian is one of the towns that he used his servants, minions, essentially demons, on these terrifying black creatures, flying creatures, to go and use his power to set fire to towns. And his hometown of Vian, well, the town he was in of Vian, was one that he witnessed the slaughter of. I'm only giving you little bits of the story. I'm not going to spoil everything, will not be doing that, but I'm giving you enough to start to appreciate the chapter and want to learn more. And yes, Loving Onion, Watermelon's username is fantastic. Also, they are a fantastic supporter, and I really, really appreciate it. Okay. If only you had divulged your sister's whereabouts to my soldiers that night. Merritt's horror swelled into rage, and a strong... my throat did a noise. That was fun. Let's try that again. Merritt's horror swelled into rage, and as strong a desire for vengeance as if the murdered servant boy had been his brother. In a sense, he had been. In this castle, servant was but a mask worn to hide his true title. Excuse me. The boy had been as much a slave to Ragnar's whims as Merritt. He glared up at the false king. Why? Why? Ragnar turned to look at Merritt. For the joy of the hunt. They say preying upon the weak proves one's cowardice. I say, victory over any man proves one's strength. It's all a matter of perspective. The poor must hunt for meat. The powerful may enjoy it for sport. Even if the prey isn't particularly challenging. He added with a dismissive shrug in the direction of the poor servant had fled. Ad starts in 5 minutes for those on Twitch. For those that don't want the ads, please subscribe, and we would love to have you as part of the Otter Pond. And those watching on TikTok, please follow me, and we are going to be having so many more of these little snippets of the 4 audiobooks I'm working on right now. There will be another one that I'll be adding later in mid to late spring, but a couple of these will be completed by then and hopefully published. It does take ACX or Audible a little bit to get it through their approval process, which is frustrating. They say on average it's 14 days. However, in my experience, it's more like 3 weeks. So hopefully they'll be out by then. If nothing else, a few of them will be done. All right. He added with a dismissive shrug in the direction the poor servant had fled. But I digress. I did not visit you today to entertain you with philosophical notions and the execution of disobedient little fools. Ragnar removed something that jangled like wind chimes from around his neck. As he slipped one of the trinkets in the cell's lock, turned, and then opened the door, Merritt stared. He hardly fathomed the idea that his cell door was being opened. He could almost taste fresher air just beyond the bars. A delightful illusion to hold on to, if fleeting. Come, Ragnar said, motioning Merritt to follow, as he started down the corridor. Merritt forced his broken body to obey. He trembled and stumbled, slamming against the iron bars and stone walls. His tattered clothes scraped against his skin, rubbing scabs from old burns. Kisara!
Welcome in, Raiders!
We got some Raiders over on Twitch, which means a dance break. Welcome. Dance break. Oh, I'm sad that those on TikTok didn't get to hear that music. That was fun. Welcome, Raiders. Welcome to the Otter Pond. We are reading a villain monologue scene from Prelude of Fire before we go and play some Palia. I am streaming on TikTok right here on my phone. We are streaming on Twitch and YouTube through my desktop. And so I'll look here for a second and I'll switch. But hey girl, hey Kisara, what were you up to? We'll do a shout out for you real quick. What were you playing over there? I would love to know. Because for those that are unaware, Kisara is amazing. Oh, you're playing the new Oregon Trail. There's a new one. Ooh. Oh, that's right. I did pop in on you doing a little bit of it. What was that, 2 days ago? Yeah, how was that? Are you enjoying it? Yeah, I'll have to go and look at some of the clips of that stream, see how it was, because that does sound fun. Yeah, thank you for rating. I really appreciate it. You're such a sweetheart. Kisara's fantastic. She's another voice actress, and seriously, such a fun spirit. Such a riot over there. If you're not following her, please go do. All right. You think I'd enjoy it? We're learning a lot of history, too. Oh, yes. Is it selective history? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hopefully not. It sounds interesting. I will have to look at that. But I hope everyone enjoys the rest of this little chapter. We're about to get into when he really starts ranting at one of the main male characters, Merritt. He's the brother of the female main character, and he's about to go on a little rant. he is pure evil, by the way. Like, I'm not seeing any really redeeming qualities with him. I'm just not. They worked with indigenous people and scholars to make a respectful representation of everyone and everything in the game. I love that. That's fantastic. Yes. As all should be. Yes. That is really, really cool. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check that out for sure. Yes. Thanks for telling me about that. That also makes Loving Onion happy. Kasara, Strife Tech is my hubby, in the Twitch chat, he just asked, did you die of dysentery? I hope you didn't, because, like, we need you around. But I hope you didn't die of dysentery. Ooh, one question before I move on from this topic. Does it let you save, or do you have to start back from the beginning like the old game? One of our people died tripping on a stone in the road. That is such a sad, sad death. I got up there being like, well, I died in war. Oh, how'd you die? I tripped on a stone. And went... hydrate. Thank you, Loving Onion. I shall hydrate, yes. All right. Not sure yet. We haven't died yet, but we just got to the harder part of the trail, so we'll see. I really hope it lets you save at the same time. I recently found a study that said that the sense of determination and, like, the will to try again, also patience and attention span, was increased by those of us that grew up with the you have to start over, there is no save. So, I don't know. Maybe it would be a good thing if you can't. I don't know. Well, we'll have to see. I mean, I hope you don't die, but it would be interesting to find out. I guess I could just Google it, but anyway. All right. We are going to go back to recording. Oh, I forgot I had this recording like that whole time. Good job. Good job, Kate. Very, very smooth. Very, very nice. Smooth moments. All right. Here we go, guys. Continuing, getting into the really intense parts of this chapter. And then we will go over and play Palia. So for those that are raiding in, if you need a raid and run, I totally understand. Please take care of yourself. Get some post-stream care. For those that are sticking around, I really hope you enjoy this little narration before we go into some gaming. All right. He breathed hard, determined not to utter even a whimper in the king's presence. He wasn't certain whether Ragnar prepared to offer him a bit of relief or if this was just another of his cruel tricks, but he wouldn't waste the chance to find out if today could prove to his betterment. After a few moments of dragging himself along, Merritt was able to keep up with the king's quick gait. He hobbled a little, keeping pressure off the foot laced with searing blisters. The wound? They wound, not the wound. I can read, I promise. Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining in. Okay, let's try that again. They wound through the dungeons, passing by cells jammed to the brim with men and women, some in rags, others in dingy garments that had obviously once been quite fine. Hands reached for Merritt, begging mercy, while a woman moaned at her fellow prisoners to leave the poor boy alone. What good can a walking corpse do? What good can a walking corpse do for us? Their journey through the castle seemed endless. Merritt silently cursed Ragnar, certain he purposely avoided all those shortcuts he had belittled the boy for failing to take. Their surroundings gradually transformed from dank and drab to warm, colorful, even comforting. As they emerged into a hall flanked by tall windows, Merritt winced in the sun's glare and shielded his eyes. Courtiers, guards, and servants passed them in the corridors. Their lively garb and chatter proving. Oh, and for those that are wanting to learn a little more about behind-the-scenes narration, usually when there's different characters in the book and it changes who's speaking. I have it highlighted in different colors. I will show you in a different script. So here, this is Towards the Rainbow, which we did a read of last time on stream. There's just 2 characters in this chapter reading. I have it highlighted differently. However, because I got a Kickstarter edition of Prelude of Fire, I am not able to edit the file, and so I'm not doing that here. If I really wanted to, I could screenshot each page and highlight it, but that's a bit much. So this one's just going to take a couple seconds longer each chapter, but that's okay. That's okay. We got the book. I got to read it for free before going through everything and deciding whether I was okay with narrating it. Some people have a bit of hesitation reading more violent scenes, and Christine Schulz, the author here, wanted to make sure that I was comfortable with it without me even asking. That was super sweet of her. Please go and follow her on, she has an Instagram, I believe she has a TikTok, and a YouTube. So go follow her on those. I know for sure she has Instagram because that's where we've been chatting. But she did that, and so I got this before we agreed to it, and since I already had a copy, we didn't send another one. So there's a little insight for those that are interested in getting into narration or wondering how it works. That helps us a lot, and it's a very common practice. Other people just go through and read each character's lines at one time and then kind of splice it together. If it's a really drastic change, like in accents, then I will. Like, Kasara says, girl, I'm so lazy. I'm like, meh, I'll deal with my characters when I get there. I mean, you totally can. Yeah. Other people will mark breaths. If some of the characters in some of the books I've done have a habit of run-on sentences, in those, I'll mark breaths. Most of the time I won't, unless I'm having a hard time finding the breath, then I'll mark it to go back and do again. So unless there's unless there's a big accent change or like a huge drop in pitch that I'm having a hard time switching back to with continuity, then I'll usually read through it and switch voices unless there is that big switch. So like Towards the Rainbow, if the leprechaun is going to be talking a lot, he's the only one in that book with an Irish accent. And once I get going in an Irish accent, I get kind of stuck. So, as to make sure I don't have everyone else have a slight Irish accent, sometimes I will go and do some of his lines over again once I'm stuck in that accent, and I'll compare it. That way, if there's a line or two that has Irish American accent, I can replace it. But that's only if I feel like I really didn't do the accent justice. So there's a whole bunch of different techniques and ways that people do to prepare before they read. Those are just what I've done in the past and what I'm doing now. So usually I'd highlight it, but I can't. So yeah. All right, back we go. Back we go. Where was I? There we go. We'll do the start of that paragraph again. Courtiers, guards, and servants pass them in the corridors, their lively garb and chatter providing a complete contrast to the layered levels of Hades forming the dungeons below them. Many paused to stare in confusion at the ragged pile of bones following His Majesty through the finest halls of the castle, though none dared to question the king or even to mock merit. At last they emerged outside, onto a wide stone terrace supported by arches and pillars facing a sprawling courtyard. A breeze stirred through the trees and flowers planted in curling patterns, and Merritt inhaled as deeply as his weary lungs would allow. The salty sea air soothed his lungs, which felt dry and parchment thin, aching with each breath. A glance at the low wall surrounding the courtyard tempted him to bolt and find strength to hurl himself over. With any luck, he'd plummet mercifully into the ocean. As Merritt followed Ragnar to their left, his attention was immediately riveted to a long mahogany table laden with a bountiful feast. The table was the Grand Terrace's focal point, with chairs surrounding it and servants standing like statues against the wall. Merritt followed Ragnar toward the food, unable to do anything but stare at the wide array: roasted chicken and fish, savory venison, rolls of bread, stews and soups, fruits and cakes galore. He swooned, nearly drunk from their rich aromas. This is making me hungry. I will not eat something right now. I will not. Even though I have chocolate right there for when I'm editing. Did you guys know that there is a do not eat before recording list of food? Some people have different things, but dairy is a big one. Sugar is a big one, since they can increase the amount of saliva and phlegm, for lack of a better word, in your throat, making weird sounds. Okay. That makes me hungry. Tiny Mouse, redeemed hydrate. I'm doing it. I'm a masochist for having chocolate nearby when I can't eat it. It's yum. To be fair, it's Strivetech's fault. He brought it over. It's my hubby's fault. He brought it over when, instead of bringing it upstairs, I'm guessing, Strivetech, is this right? He was going to say that he needed to get it away from him or something so he wouldn't eat the whole bag. You plead the fifth? Wasn't it just last night you brought it over? Strivetech sabotage. Exactly. I need some sort of... I need to get a little emote. Strivetech sabotage or something. Or maybe that's a redeem. Ooh, that would be a mean redeem. Anyways. Yes, I have those for when I'm editing to treat myself for hours of recording without anything. All right. The king sat in a chair at the head of the table and motioned for Merritt to be seated to his right, facing the courtyard. A last meal, if you will. Ragnar swept his hands in a wide, welcoming gesture over the food. Go on. Go on. Sit and dine with me. You needn't fear poison. I promise you that is the last means of execution I would resort to. Yes, that would be too boring and merciful for him. Merritt fell gratefully into the chair. Why am I talking lower? Merritt fell gratefully into the chair, and servants rushed with choreographed precision to fill their plates with a sample of everything the feast had to offer, also filling their goblets to the brim with red wine. The banquet. What the crap? I can talk. I can read. I know my words. The banquet was so mesmerizing it took far too long for the king's words to hit home. Merritt dragged his gaze to his captor. Last meal? Unfortunately, that's what he said. I'm sorry. Yes. Ragnar stabbed a piece of venison and took a vicious tear at it with his teeth, all while watching Merritt thoughtfully. You will soon die in much the same manner as your father, in chains, having accomplished nothing of note. What my wanton wretch of a wife ever saw in the great oaf is beyond me, a simple stableman. I see no shame in being a stableman. Merritt gulped down a huge piece of chicken, fearing his insolence might lose him the chance. After savoring the freshly cooked meat and sweet herbs a few moments, he added, A stableman is a steward of beasts. Beasts are just as much a part of Amiel's creation as we are. There's honor in being their servants, too. Amiel is what they call their god. Ragnar studied Marriott. Oh my heavens, you guys, what's up with me tonight? Okay. Ragnar studied Merritt seriously. Anger brimmed in his gaze, and Merritt could almost imagine bits of flame dancing in his eyes. Or perhaps it was no trick of his imagination at all. Leaning forward in his chair, so close that Merritt could smell the wine on his breath, Ragnar said, "I am a servant to no beast, man, or god." I want to try that again. "I am a servant to no beast, man, or god. I am a god. I can control the very weather with my spear." He flung his arms wide. "How is any god greater than me? Even Amiel, Lord and Creator of all. They hail him. Amiel is no lord. He is a traitor, same as you. And just like you, his name and memory will die, overshadowed in the rise of mine. I am the god everyone will bow to. Fear, remember!" There's no exclamation point on that. Let's try that again. "I am the god everyone will bow to. Fear, remember. My power is real and visible on this earth." Merritt wanted to choose his next words carefully, but the false king's blatant disrespect toward his faith terrified him. He sat not in the presence of a man, but of a demon who utterly despised Amiel and his teachings of humility and compassion. Of course, flickers of doubt had assailed Merritt's faith since coming under Ragnar's control. Did Amiel still care about him? Would he ever deliver him from this evil? He will, Merritt reminded himself. He couldn't imagine his current pain ending and didn't understand why he'd been made to endure it in the first place. But whether in this life or the next, Amiel would deliver him from every last shred of suffering. And he would rather cling to that hope, however impossible it felt right now, than allow himself to become a hollow vessel like Ragnar, with no love to fill his heart but that of his own power. His remembrance of Amiel's love and the peace it had always brought him, along with Ashley's and Papa's love, strengthened him enough to say, "Amiel could still forgive you, if you ask him and really mean it. Even after all the terrible things you've done, he can forgive you. And you could use your life to try and make things better for all the people you've hurt. One day, we'll all bow to our Creator and Lord. We'll all be judged for our actions, good and bad. Even you. But it's not too late for you to choose another path if you just..." Ragnar swung his hand, and 2 fiery tendrils erupted from his palm. Coiling around Merritt's wrists, they wrenched him up from his chair and slammed his face to the ground. Merritt writhed as the controlled heat slowly seared the flesh on his wrists. His face throbbed, and he tasted the blood pooling in his mouth. "You will bow to your lord. You will reverence your king. You will learn the lesson your parents forswore or die an even worse death than I've planned." The fiery bonds receded. Merritt curled his arms across his chest and lay trembling for some time. Ragnar stretched forth his hand again. Yellow flames burst from his fingertips, but their gentle warmth did not burn. Instead, they radiated a healing balm, patching Merritt's fractured nose and fresh burns. My voice cracked for a second there. That was strange. Lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, lolly, lolly. Lollipop break. Okay. Yellow flames burst from his fingertips, but their gentle warmth did not burn. Instead, they radiated a healing balm, patching Merritt's fractured nose and fresh burns, turning the latter into mere scabs. Merritt gasped, overwhelmed at the sudden relief. Now, get back in your chair." Oh, he's supposed to snap. I would have highlighted that. Oops. "Now get back in your chair," Ragnar snapped. "Be grateful for the meal I'm allowing you." Merritt pulled himself back into his chair. His stomach churned, and he had to swallow back bile. The fear, the pain, eating this rich fare too quickly, any of it could be causing his nausea. Ragnar's gaze commanded him to keep eating. Uncertain he could handle another attack, Merritt took a soft bread roll and tore off a small piece, chewing slowly. Ragnar smirked. "I'll give you this. You're as bold as your mother, but just as naive with dreams of false justice. All my life, I lived under the captivity of others. You see, Merritt," he sneered the name. "You see, Merritt." He sneered the name and leaned back in his chair, chin lifted, face filled with contempt. "For years I had to play the role of servant to a lesser man. 2 lesser men, each of whom thought they had the right to rule. In the end, I earned the crown. One of them fled by the throne before my might. The other fell dead by my hand. Just like your betraying father. Just as I will kill your harlot of a mother. And if your sister, my one true issue, will not join me, then she may join you in your grave as well. Then she may join you in your grave as well." "My sister?" Merritt froze before his next bite reached his lips. "You call her your true issue. You mean—" "Yes," Ragnar said. "She is one of the many things your mother stole from me. Just as she tried to steal my chance for power and glory, though that she could not do. No one can. I once also knew a great sorcerer, the most powerful of magical beings. But even he was a coward in the end. Worthless. Obliterating the men who tried to destroy both him and me would have been child's play for him. But it was left for me to accomplish. Instead, he let his legacy fade. Now my power surpasses even his. Even a sorcerer cannot surpass my sky of fire." Ragnar motioned toward the sky. Merritt looked, blinking in the brilliant golden-orange glow. "Did you know it is past midnight?" the king asked quietly. Merritt stared at him and then back to the blinding glow. "That is justice. My enemies defeated, and I the master of a greater power than any of them deserve to wield. Unlike you, Ashley displays that same power. No inferior blood flows through her veins. She is mine. She might yet be redeemed." Merritt gave no reply. His soul recoiled from the possibility that this man could be Ashley's father. Managing to keep his hand steady, he brought it down to rest between his plate and the knife beside it. "Why did you bring me here?" His voice was barely a whisper. "To fatten me for the slaughter?" "I could have killed you long before this, but you are your mother's son. Had she begged forgiveness for her betrayal, I might have allowed you both to live unharmed. Tell me what you know. Tell me what you know about her, your mother." Merritt studied the king. "Nothing of true importance," he began, each word quiet and deliberate. "All Ashley and I know is that someone left us at the shrine in Vienne when we were too young to remember, with a note to keep us safe. It's you who could tell me about her. I assume now her intent was to protect us from you." "To protect you, perhaps." "I would never harm Ashley. She is my child. I made certain of that." Merritt suppressed a shiver at the hateful tone Ragnar's voice had taken. "Why are you so insistent that I'm not your child?" Ragnar gave him a tilted smile. Do you wish to be my child? When Merritt hesitated, struggling to think of an acceptable answer, the king rose from his chair and spoke in his stead. No, your wishes do not matter. I did indeed bring you here for a reason. It is clear your loyalty to your sister is sound, and I can respect that, though it will not stop me from ending your life. But today I grant you a final test, one of family loyalty, if you will. I'm going to try that line again, but we're on an ad break on Twitch. While that ad break is going, take a drink, have some waters. Because that's important. By the way, if any of you have any questions about narration, voice acting, recording, stuff like this, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to let you know what I've learned from classes, experience, and so forth. Also, the voice I'm using for Ragnar is higher than the voice I recorded in a sample, like I said before, to the author. I'm kind of testing this out, see what she thinks. She said she'll probably be on a plane while I'm doing this. I will clip a part of these recordings and put it on my socials, or possibly just send it to her for her socials and promo for this book. But I always keep a file of my bloopers. So all these bloopers that are happening, I do keep a file of them. It's, yeah. Lucky all those that get to see it. For some of my streams, I will keep some of the bloopers and make them into shorts. For audiobook purposes, I keep that file and have it as an option for the authors if they want a bloopers behind the scenes file for Patreon, if they have it, or if they're doing a Kickstarter for the audiobook. That's also one that I keep as a little stretch goal if they want it. It's all up to the author what they want to do with those bloopers. But I do keep them. It's fun. People like to see the bloopers. They like to see the humanity of the real voices behind it because, AI doesn't have bloopers. So, anyways. Let's get back to reading. Now that everyone's back from the break. All right. But today I grant you a final test. One of family loyalty, if you will. Bring out the beast. Merritt gripped the side of his chair, bracing himself for whatever horrible beast Ragnar had prepared to assault him. Even had he the physical strength, Merritt had neither weapon nor any magical skill with which to defend himself. Perhaps that at least meant Ragnar's monster would make quick work of him. From around the corner of the terrace, a servant led a raving beast. The servant led not a raving beast, but a horse into the courtyard. Merritt stared, stunned and awed, in one breath. The creature was lovely. Its silver coat speckled with darker gray spots, its dark mane falling in thick silky waves. Its tail swished as it plodded slowly, and Merritt could sense that it was a good-tempered, gentle creature. Ragnar took the reins from the servant and dismissed him with a wave of his hand. As the boy hurried from the terrace, Ragnar turned to Merritt and said, "Now we shall prove my case at last. Let us see your affinity for the beasts of the field you so ardently defend." Ragnar raised his free hand. A ball of flame formed within. The fire leapt high, extending into long streams until he clutched a whip formed of many long bands of flame. Ragnar struck the whip against the ground. Sparks flew, making the horse whinny and tried to jerk away from him, its formerly serene eyes aglow with fear. Merritt's heart plumped. Merritt's heart plumped. That's not what's written. Nope. Hey guys, welcome. Anthony's yellow. Thank you, thank you. For those that haven't seen, we did do a duet together. It was super fun. It's a voice acting challenge for those. Why, thank you, Loving Onion. For those that like doing voice acting challenge, whether you're a voice actor or not, or just want to do something fun, there is a duetted style voice acting challenge that myself and Anthony did. Go and check that out. That was super fun. But for those that are joining on TikTok, we're reading a villain chapter, a kind of monologue from Prelude of Fire. It was what was voted for next week. We will be doing Silenced Beauty. And like we are doing this week, we'll read it and then we'll switch to games on Twitch. And then we'll end the night. So, back to Ragnar being a insert expletive to one of the main male characters. All right. Merritt's heart pumped with a righteous anger as he watched the beast's mounting terror. He would not let Ragnar turn this poor creature to ash. If Merritt couldn't help Ashley, perhaps he could. Perhaps he could at least figure out what Ragnar wanted so that this poor beast might be freed. Ragnar snapped the whip at the horse's ankles. The horse reared, screaming, and Merritt prayed its hooves would come crashing down on Ragnar's skull. But they did not. Ragnar released his hold on the reins and cracked his whip again, sending trails of flame along the ground, chasing the horse. The horse flew around the courtyard, desperate for escape, whinnying wildly in terror. The horse galloped past, and Merritt was overwhelmed by dread, not so much from the proximity of Ragnar's flames, but from his uncertainty that he lacked the wit or strength to help the animal. I just gleeked. Oops. The scene isn't funny. Okay. Didn't mean to do that. Oopsies. Okay. Ragnar released it. Oh, wait. I did that part. There we go. There we go. But from his uncertainty that he lacked the wit or strength to help the animal. What if Ragnar grew impatient and did more than torment the poor horse? What if Merritt's inability to act caused the beast to die in the same way the king had murdered the servant boy? Merritt pushed his trembling body to stand. His legs wobbled, and he crashed back in his chair, wincing as the jarring movement seared pain throughout his body. After 2 more attempts, he finally stood and took a few faltering steps toward the courtyard. He glanced back at Ragnar, anticipating some derision for rising from his seat without permission, but the king focused on chasing the horse with his spell. Merritt waited for the horse and trailing fire to fly past before staggering from the terrace onto the lawn. While Merritt ventured as far as he could into the courtyard... Why did my voice crack? While Merritt ventured as far as he could into the courtyard, Ragnar's flames vanished, but the poor creature was so terrified that it didn't notice. It continued to thunder around the perimeter of the courtyard, eyes wide with panic. It took every ounce of Merritt's will to fight exhaustion and pain to turn with the horse, making sure to always keep it in sight. Hi, everyone joining. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you all. All right. Merritt cautiously raised his hands. If the horse perceived him as the cause of danger... Whoop. There we go. My TikTok live is... There we go. It was trying to exit out because I have been live for a little bit. There we go. That's better. All right. If the horse perceived him as the cause of the danger chasing it, Merritt's life would be in imminent danger. He uttered quiet words of calm and encouragement to the horse, sometimes in the common tongue, other times in the ancient Lazolian. He had read once that the old tongue had a soothing effect on certain animals. and it had always seemed to work with the horses back home. On he spoke, limping in a circle, following the horse's movement. Gradually, the horse slowed to a trot, perhaps no longer feeling the heat of the fire whooshing after it. Its head turned toward Merritt now and then, observing him, seeming to wonder if this ragged boy's presence had ceased the flames, or if he might make them appear again. After a while, the horse came to a stop several yards from Merritt. Merritt's arms ached, but he kept them lifted, ever so slowly dragging himself toward the horse, still speaking soft, gentle words. When he drew near, the horse bolted again, but Merritt repeated the process, keeping the creature in his sight. At last, the horse allowed him to draw near enough to reach out a hand with slow confidence. The horse sniffed his hand, and Merritt gently ran his fingers down its long, velvety nose. The horse seemed to welcome the touch, but its panting breath and wide eyes echoed its lingering terror. Feeling sorry for the innocent beast, Merritt did the only other thing he could think of to offer comfort. He cleared his gravelly throat as best he could and began to sing. His voice was a broken shell of itself, but the tune was true enough. True enough to make the horse look almost in a daze, as if it had fallen asleep standing up. True enough to make Ragnar scoff and stare at Merritt with an arrogant smirk that made Merritt's stomach churn. Whatever trap Ragnar had wanted him to stumble into, it seemed he had done so. Undaunted, Merritt sang on, drawing out an old lullaby he had often hummed to Ashley. The horse lay on the ground, gazing at Merritt with serenity before closing its eyes. Ragnar looked bewildered, and then furious. He threw down the whip and stormed toward Merritt. He grabbed Merritt, dragging him back to the terrace, and slammed him down on the table. "Do not mock me, boy. You cannot lie any longer. Your bewitchment of the beast has sealed your fate. Where did you learn that spell?" "What spell?" Merritt asked. "I only spoke to the horse with kindness and sang to it as I would any horse back home." Ragnar slammed Merritt hard against the table once more. The splintered wood bit into his flesh, and he gasped, barely resisting a scream of pain. "What do you know of your father?" Ragnar demanded. I don't know. I don't anything about either of my—" "Liar!" Ragnar boomed. Ooh, I peeked. "Liar!" Ragnar boomed. "You are his son, after all. Liar! Deceiver! Deceiver! Traitor! You charmed the beast with ease, just as he always could, just as he charmed my wife away from my bed to create the abomination you are. Now you would seek to charm me with your pretended innocence. Another trick of his, a trick I will not fall for again." He grabbed the whip, and Merritt's gaze snapped to the knife beside his plate. Desperate, he snatched it and lunged. I wasn't expecting the wife stealer lore. There's a lot in this book. You gotta wait for the whole story. It is so good. Okay, desperate, he snatched it and lunged, but he reeled and fell clumsily against the king. Ragnar cried out in fury and shoved him to the ground. Merritt barely managed to catch hold of a chair leg, dragging himself up just enough to see that the knife had landed in the king's shoulder. Merritt's trembling body lacked the strength needed for another such attack, but maybe if he sang, he could calm Ragnar, put him into a sort of trance as he had done the horse. He had never attempted to calm a person that way, and he didn't know why it would help now, but anything was worth a try. No sooner had he parted his lips than Ragnar clutched his arm, looming over him and seething. "You are that ungrateful wench's son, but it is thoroughly clear now that you were never mine. You are finished, Merritt Greyfell. You were born of a beast, and you will die like one. I will make your sister the queen your mother should have been. Even she will not know you anymore." Merritt tried to sing, but as Ragnar bore down on him with the whip, he kept Merritt's limbs filled with screams, unable to utter any song. Oops, lips, not limbs. He kept Merritt's lips filled with screams, unable to utter any song. Merritt could only wait for it to be over, praying for his sister's safety and begging for his death. Ta-da. That is the end of the chapter. And that is the end of the read. I have been given permission to read for everyone on stream. And you have gotten a glimpse into the cruel, tormentuous evil that is Ragnar. Honestly, this is the least of what he does in the book. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. But it is so freaking good. You guys, it's so good. I'm so excited for everyone to be able to read all of this. This is the end of the read along, Loving Onion. It is. Hey, Chris. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you guys. We're just at the end of the read along or the villain narration. Loving Onion on Twitch is freaking out that it's the end. I'm sorry. This is what I was given permission to stream and read. And that's the end of what I was allowed to. I'm sorry. But this is not the end of the Twitch stream. For those on TikTok, if you go over to my Twitch, Loving Onion says, "I'm so invested, Strife Wife, please, I can bribe." It's not me you have to bribe. You have to bribe the author. But if you want more of this book, I am getting all the characters' voices approved with the author. We're starting the recording process for the audiobook. Stay tuned for when there's the release date. I'm working on 4. Join your live one day and share your experience as a performer. Yeah, I can definitely do that sometime. Go ahead and DM me on here and we'll figure out a time to do that. Stay tuned for more information about the 4 audiobooks I'm working on. I'll continue to update. We do have plans for a couple more promo reels of little sneak peeks of those books next week, starting at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We will be doing the second voted for, the unfortunate loser of the 2-choice poll. We'll do a snippet of that book. It is called Silenced Beauty. It is a retelling of the 10 Swans, or the Cursed Swans. There's a bunch of different names of it, but the Cursed Swans retelling. The main character is cursed into being a mute, and they sign. They sign in the book. It's really cool how she describes it all, how she learns to sign, and is on a quest to save her brothers. It's a very interesting story. Prelude of Fire, I think, is going to be the longest of the books, of my audiobooks, if I've counted the chapters correctly. And it is the first in the quartet, the Galilean Quartet series. There are 3 books in the series after this one, and hopefully, if all goes well, I'll be able to be the narrator for those as well. So, for those on TikTok, head on over to my Twitch if you'd like to see us play Palia. Strive Tech, can you get me my remote? Not my remote, my controller that our daughter stole. But yeah, that is the little sneak peek of the villain monologue. So let me just adjust everything on Twitch stream and we'll get that game up. Thank you everyone that joined on the TikTok stream. I'm really happy that all of you were able to see. I will check that message, Chris, and look for it. We'll figure out a time. And thanks for joining my first TikTok live. Well, first live on my phone. We did do a restream live before. So first one through the phone itself. So Thank you for joining, and I will see you on the next stream, which should be next week. And da-da-da. All right. Thank you. You only see the hand of Stripe Tech. Oh, I need to stop the recording. There we go. And we'll get that off the screen. We can let the phone charge now because it's going to die, unfortunately. And it is cold in my studio, so I'm going to get my hand warmers. I have had someone ask if this was something other than a hand warmer. It's a hand warmer, I swear. That's why it's staying in my hand. But anyways, let's get this all set up. And somehow I knew that Loving Onion would enjoy that little comment. I seriously did have someone that asked questions about that was like, is that what I think it is? I'm like, a hand warmer? And they're like, no, that's not what I meant. I'm like, what did you think it was? They're like, well, you're in your studio. You have this little secluded little place that helps dampen sound. I'm like, no, that's not what it is. So I swear, it's just in my hand. My studio is in an unfinished basement. And yeah. Yeah, I promise. It is just, yeah, it's only that. I promise. All right. You know what? I'm going to end this stream and start a new one. That way I can end the YouTube stream, because I usually only do the game on Twitch. So don't go anywhere. I'll be